Hello everybody, Randy Patrick here. Time for Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week video. Lots going on again. Today is Friday, May the 31st. Hope your week was decent. Lots happening in the real estate world today. Number one bit of news, I guess you could say, was the fact that pending home sales fell 1.5% in April. So pending home sales are basically people that engaged and went under contract to purchase homes during the month of April. Those obviously reflect future closings, May, June, July, whatever. So basically people that went under contract, that everything is pending home sales. So they fell 1.5%, from the previous month, and this is according to National Association of Realtors, and that basically is a 16th consecutive month of annual decreases, and the year-over-year contract signings decrease was 2%. So really, as you can see, that sales are not growing at all. This is the spring selling season, and of course the kind of tagline I'm seeing here is the term despite low interest rates. So basically, despite declining mortgage rates, pending sales down, new home sales down, whatever that is, it's declining interest rates don't seem to be making a difference at this point in time. Sure, they help, but obviously not the driving force, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So again, 16 consecutive months of pending decreases and 2% year-over-year decline, which shows us that we have slowing activity, simple as that. Now, when you take a look at the regions, the Northeast decreased 1.8%, the Midwest decreased 1.3%, the South decreased 2.5%, and the West decreased 1.8%. So all in all, it boiled down to the 1.5% decrease overall in April and about a 2% decrease year over year. So again, going back to the whole rate discussion, rates are lower. The rates fell to their lowest level since January 2018 recently, so that's not really helping with respect to much movement of property here. And buyers are concerned, and this is a kind of a new phrase, tagline that we're hearing now. So buyers are concerned that they're going to be catching a falling knife. So clearly you don't want to catch a falling knife and get sliced and start to bleed. The point is, will prices decline further? That's everyone's hope, I guess you could say, but now it's the concern for buyers. Do I catch the knife now, start to bleed, and I'm missing out on lower price opportunities as time goes on? So that's kind of a unique little situation. Catching a falling knife is our second, I guess you could say, phrase or tagline that's going on here, but it makes sense. Now, talking, to the Fannie Mae chief economist was on the news the other day, and really he said sort of the similar things, going, people are getting the rates they want. So the interest rates aren't the issue. It's finding the home that they can, number one, afford, or two, that they want to move in, their ideal sort of, in the box home here. That's the big issue. You can get a pre-approved, you can have the money to buy or put a down payment, you just can't find the house. Therefore, you're not going to trigger a purchase at this point in time. And the issue is that, people can't move up. So a lot of the opportunities to jump into a newer place, increase size, location, amenities, whatever, it's because of our current generational issues that we're experiencing right now. The boomers are aging in place. So the boomer generation they're not moving, they're holding off relocating to either smaller homes or relocating to retirement complexes and communities. So the boomers are aging in place. This apparently is causing a problem. This is the worst supply issue for this demographic change in the past 30 years. So that's simple. I have my own theories on why these issues are happening, and you might want to reach out and we'll go deeper into that. But the point is that we have supply issues. Supply is not coming on the market where it's needed. Boomers aren't selling. They're expected to start to sell later on, probably in the 2020s to like 2021, 2022, that time frame. So supply is not coming on the market as of yet. And again, recapping here, catch the falling knife. That's the number one thing. So you don't want to buy the property and bid for a property or overpay 30, 40, 50 grand right now, and then suddenly in 2 or 3, 4 months realize that, I made a mistake and prices are declining faster than I realized, and I've now overbought, and now I'm stuck, I'm over leveraged, I'm underwater, all those good things that come along with that. So please keep all that in mind. Interesting enough, another interesting, I guess you could say, tagline or term I'm looking at is the word supply shock. That's what's going on now from a seller perspective. So basically we have, in some locations across the country, this is more from a developer perspective, we have supply shock. So they're now completing projects, and they're unloading projects in the marketplace, and there's actually too much supply, which is causing a bit of chaos. So this obviously takes place in Miami. Apparently, developers currently have about 2,100 new development units left to sell in Miami for this cycle, and that doesn't include units that are available on the MLS at this point in time. We're calling this the supply shock, so the report, and it's just the nature of what happens in a booming, appreciating market. People watch it go up like this. They want to get in on the opportunity, thinking it's going to continue to increase in opportunity. So developers go out and they build new homes, they build communities, they build townhomes, they build new houses, they build, in certain areas, denser areas, they're going to build condos and apartments. And then when, that doesn't happen in 30 days. So by the time everything gets, zoned, purchased, land purchased, they go through due diligence, zoning, permits, everything that gets issued to change all those, current land use issues to accommodate the growth factor here. And they build and they start to sell. It's been a couple of years, and guess what? Now they're behind the market. The market's kind of passed them by, and now they have inventory and they have to reduce price, which messes their financials up. So really, we see this happening in a lot of the major locations across the marketplace. We saw a lot of multifamily being built over the years too. So I expect that at some point in time, as more and more of those complexes are completed with construction, we may see some issues as well here. So again, I just find this all interesting, and again, one or two more things that contribute to the housing bubble and where things are headed these days. Just a side note here in this article. There's a real estate agent just making some noise up in Santa Clarita, obviously in California. Is encouraging the community to make noise about the rising number of seemingly unjust foreclosures, because he believes this is sort of a process that's set in motion as a result of banks and servicers not having any oversight or controls when to behave ethically in the foreclosure process here. And he's stating because there's no oversight, these servicers and lenders can do whatever they want, which basically affects homeowners. He's pointing out the fact that one of his clients is facing foreclosure after her bank denied a loan modification, which banks often do deny loan modifications, and the reason being because the numbers sort of have to work for the bank as well as the homeowner. And oftentimes, I've seen this many times in the past, that the homeowner can only afford so much. The banks go, we can't deal with it because, these are, when they buy and sell loans off on the open market, they put loans in groups or tranches, whatever you want to call them, and, mortgage-backed securities, whatever you want to go down that path here. But the point is that they're like loans. They're grouped because they're similar style and vintage type of loans. And you can't just change a loan dramatically because it ruins the criteria of that sort of loan pool. So there are some limitations here. So in this situation, they denied the loan modification, but requested in writing that they do a short sale. So apparently she did a short sale, and then they declined the short sale offer while repeatedly refusing to give any reason why. So again, you can see that banks will start to, I guess you could say, get back to their old shenanigans like they used to back in the day, which will cause more people problems. And, it's the same nonsense that we saw back leading up to the 2008 crash. So for those of you who don't think we're crashing or are having bubble popping issues, we are. For those of you who are set with respect to, well, it's not going to happen because we have what's called QM, qualified mortgages and better controls, it's going to happen. There's everything else is happening, that are forcing us down this path. And, I'll talk about that in a future video. I know people have asked about that. I'm actually working on it. That's my goal for the next couple of days, to produce a lot more videos that will really identify what happened with the last housing crisis, what went on, where we're at today, and how things today are just as similar, and we're going down that same path. So realize, we're not out of the woods. We're actually going deeper into the woods these days. So having said that, people who are losing their homes, what's going to happen? They're going to be forced to rent property, which is obvious. Okay, so now we see the rental market is heating up. So what people have noticed is the fact that all the freebies and perks and the benefits and incentives to jump into rental property are actually being taken away and removed now. And the reason being, well, obviously if people aren't buying homes, not buying new construction homes, and we see that existing home sales are down in volume, less pending contracts, the whole bit, which will result in less sales. What do? They go back or they continue to rent. So basically, the number of rental listings on, I guess, a group called Hot Pads, which is a Zillow-owned rental website, mentioned at least that have concessions, at least one concession, to jump on board and become a rental client. I guess those listings down, I guess concessions are down on 30% of the listings from the same time last year. And what they're basically saying, only 1 in 100 rental listings currently shows any kind of move-in special. And rent prices are accelerating, up 3.1% from a year ago to a median rent of $1,530 nationally, according to Hot Pads here. And that's the highest level since August 2017. And as I mentioned, we have a lot more multifamily units coming on, and a lot of these multifamily units are nicer complexes with a lot of amenities and things like that. So lots of, but again, people who aren't buying are forced to rent, and therefore that's going to be a pretty tight and closed off market here. So I just think it's interesting, again, the fact that you see how things shift. And before people were offering a lot of opportunities and incentives to jump into rental property. Now it's, well, since you're not buying, you're going to be renters. We're not concerned about losing you as a customer. Therefore, we don't have to offer as many incentives, and we can actually increase and slowly move up our rental rates and absorb what we can. So very interesting on how everything plays out. Something else here, Los Angeles developers have a big problem. It's very, very bad for them out there. Too many new mega mansions. And going back down to the whole developer theory and growing, in the booming marketplace. So essentially what they're saying here is that real estate experts estimate that there are about 50 ultra high-end spec houses under construction in the area. So we're not even talking about people who are putting up $10 million, $20 million, $30 million properties for sale. These are developers who are building essentially spec homes, millions and millions of dollars worth of development, land, construction, development, the whole bit, decking them out, and they're concerned now that they're not going to move these properties. So we basically have, apparently it's an unprecedented wave of development went on, from the past couple of years. Again, about 50 high-end ultra spec homes under constructions from Beverly Hills to Bel Air and Brentwood. Review of the Los Angeles multi-listing service shows close to 100 homes in the market. They're asking over $20 million in Los Angeles County, and at least 35 of those homes would be considered developer spec homes, I guess you could say. And the surplus obviously mirrors places like New York, where a lot of higher end condos and apartments get constructed and get converted. So this difficulty out there. Now, financing for these things, developers could have a lot of private financing. They could have gone to the well with basically lender type financing. So either way, it's a concern. So that's why every so often, like I look at this, say the Wall Street Journal, you'll see these mega homes for sale, and then we'll hear that, hey, a $25 million home just got reduced their price to $19 million, or a $35 million home is now in the high 20s. So again, the developer is going to ask for the world, and they're going to realize the market's not there, and they're going to push price down in order to get out of it, recoup some costs, still make some money, but move forward. So again, this is what typically happens in a bubble, is that sort of the all that time to develop and construct hits the market at a time where it's already peaked and it's crested and it's moving downwards now, and people are going to go, oh my goodness, I'm stuck with this. What am I going to do? I need to reduce costs big time, really just to get out. Now, obviously, I don't know the financial numbers of all these developers and their homes, but you want to get rid of them as soon as you can so you don't get caught, because we know sales are trending. We know values are trending downwards. We know we've seen right here today pending home sales, 16 months of month-over-month decline. So it is what it is, folks. The market is slowing down. The trend is in the opposite direction. At some point in time, we know that in certain markets across the country, we've already seen decline in prices. That will pick up as the months goes on. Simple as that. Okay, let's talk about now. We'll talk about relocation, and just my last point here for today. According to United Van Lines, which every so often releases a little bit of indication as to where their clients are moving to. And I've talked about this before, and apparently, 4 out of 10, I guess you could say, people are moving to New Mexico. and actually maybe not. New Mexico is a hot destination. This is more retirees, by the way, folks. More people. Well, let me just step back here. I'll restate this a little more effectively. The article is based upon people leaving from New Jersey. So New Jersey seems to be the place where, on a per capita basis, people want to leave as much as possible here. So that's number one. So according to in 2018, United Van Line said that New Jersey was the place people were fleeing, essentially. A third of those households cited retirement as a reason, and New Mexico is the hottest destination for retirees if you're leaving anywhere in the U.S. Interesting enough that Florida came in second and Arizona came in third as the next two top destinations, so no surprise there. And just so we know, if New Jersey is the number one relocation state for retirees to leave, Maine is number 2, and Connecticut is number 3. So interesting enough to know that, those are northeast locations which suffer from some pretty harsh weather in the winter months, and also have pretty hefty tax burdens, whether it's personal tax, property tax, other tax issues up there. So just keep that in mind. So that's just some news. And when we see this every so often, the United Van Lines puts out these reports, and it seems to be consistent. So New Mexico's, the past couple of quarters have been the new place to hit, and then obviously, I don't know what's there personally, but another opportunity to probably cheaper real estate, probably cheaper tax base, and something different. You know what I mean? Just something different. I mean, a lot of people go to Tucson and Phoenix, Arizona, on that side of the U.S. New Mexico just might be something a little different and a change, and might have a booming economy for retirees. So that's the scoop today. Once again, thank you very much for the views, the likes, the comments. Talking to a lot of you guys now out there, so appreciate reaching out. And we're talking about a lot of interesting things with respect to purchasing homes, and I think a lot of you guys should become what I call retail investors. And what I mean by that is, looking for your new retail property at a cheaper price and quasi-investing at the same time. I think that's going to be my new, I guess you could say, keyword or catchphrase or term I'm going to use on a going forward basis. So again, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, help my channel grow. And if you want to talk, drop me a line. The best way to get a hold of me is to send me an email. That tends to be the best way to reach me. If you phone me, I tend to get lost in voicemail messages. So email is the best way. I've got a record of it, and I can go back over the past couple days and refine what I'm doing and check out and respond to you. So again, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to speaking to you next week. And again, never pay retail. All right, another tagline here. Take care.